Hey guys, it's Martin here, and I came across this article on a site called 𝗏𝗡𝗏.com, and I thought it was really interesting. This guy cries for pages and pages and pages about how he had his $3,500 bank account at Bank of America misplaced by Bank of America, and he claims that he found himself in a, let's see what he says here, a story how I found myself in absurdist bureaucratic nightmare straight out of the movie Brazil. Dude, reality, you found out that you don't matter, and that you're inconsequential and unimportant. And I think it's really funny how this guy just cries for, look how long this is. He just cries and cries about this odyssey where Bank of America misplaces his $3,500. And it's not his fault, but at the same time, I can't imagine what a sort of beta male this person is. He goes on here to say that, you know, he has to go to the bank to see a relationship manager. And the poor lady, you know, he says after talking to the poor lady who probably makes $10 and her alternative employment was Starbucks, I knew that Bank of America is not a bank that had it together. This is right after he talks to the poor woman who has zero training, and the woman says, you know, go look on your account. And that is entirely my fault that I entrusted my money to this two-bit operation. Okay, loser, for a second, you got to stop for a second and realize that your money is $3,500 is not a lot of money to this $2 trillion asset company. And this two-bit operation is worth $230 billion. There's only one bank in the world more valuable than Bank of America, and that's JP Morgan. And I doubt you'd have a better experience there. So the amount of self-importance that this reeks of, this guy's actually from Paolo Alto, which is very, very telling in my eyes. You know, how self-important you could possibly be to think that your $3,500 matters to this $250 billion company. They didn't point a gun at you and say, deposit your money here. Instead of screaming my lungs out, is any reasonable person is entitled? Nobody's entitled to scream their lungs out. You know, this is a computer error. You know, the whole story is somewhat interesting, but this is a computer error that happens because the guy's last name happens to be the same last name as somebody else who owes a lot of money to somebody. And they mix up the accounts and his money disappears. Again, something that is unfortunate, but not Bank of America's fault in any way. And again, the idea that this is a two-bit operation is sort of ridiculous. This is a two-bit thinker, if you ask me. So finally, what this loser doesn't understand is that your account actually loses money for Bank of America. $3,500, you make about a 1% spread on lending versus payments. That's $30 a year, and all the infrastructure they set up for your costs more than $30 a year that you're bringing into them. So, you know, there's this entitlement that, oh, I should be getting the best service. I should be getting the best everything for my business. Well, your business isn't a business. Your $3,000 doesn't matter. And it's hard for people to realize that. You're a number in a database. If you want better service, get more money. Otherwise, grin and bear it. I don't go to the Four Seasons and say, here's $50, I'd really like the presidential suite. They tell me to get out of here because our most basic room's $1,000 a night. And there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. I've been a private client, a select client, an ultra-high net worth client at these banks. Let me tell you something. It doesn't get a lot better. They don't want even $1 million accounts. And they don't treat them a lot better than this. So you have to get a grip on reality and realize that you don't matter too much. So anyway, the guy runs around and, you know, tries to get his money, and I don't know how the story ends, to be honest, but I'm so disgusted with this self-importance. And I feel like, you know, there's so many people out there that because it's a company and because they're a customer, they feel like they're entitled to tell the company what to do. That, you know, ticket prices should be lower because I want to see my favorite artist, or drug prices should be free because I need them. You know, and there's this lack of understanding of how the real world works, and it's sort of pathetic if you ask me. So anyway, this stupidity and self-entitlement is, you know, rampant these days. And again, it's not surprising that this guy lives in Palo Alto and is, you know, 100% sure that this is all Bank of America's fault and not just him realizing that he's inconsequential in the scheme of things. About this guy at Bank of America who I think is a total idiot, and there's some people that don't agree with me, and I dare you to call me up and debate with me about this. Call me at 646 about this Bank of America idiot and watch the stream. All right, so who wants to take me on?
Obviously, yeah, it costs some money every year, but also that people have to pay money to have an account with Bank of America now, right?
Yeah, it's still, I think that's to offset the losses.
It's like $16 a month, I remember, right?
No, that's if you have all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, you can have $1 million in your account, but you still have to pay about that much, $16 if I remember.
Yeah, well,
and that's monthly. That's also monthly.
It's a bit, if he's paying cash for the account, he's still not entitled to super duper special service.
Yeah, but you can't say computer error isn't their fault.
I didn't say
yes, you did. In your video, you said it was their fault.
Let me finish. What I said was that What I said was that a computer error that's 1 in a million is not their fault. And this was let me finish. What I'm saying is that a computer error that is 1 in a million, where the programmers, I program every day. People who program cannot evaluate every single potential eventuality. And there's a concept in programming where you make the best program you can for 999,999 cases out of a million, and fixing every one of those one cases so that you can get it to 1 billion, that is not worth it. That is never worth it. Because
Six Sigma, Google it.
It is a waste of your time, it is a waste of the client's time, and it's way too expensive to ensure that. So inevitably, someone's going to fall through the cracks, and it was this Porschmo's day to fall through the cracks. And my problem is, it's not Bank of America's fault for not making perfect software. Nobody makes perfect software. We've all been to websites that don't work, that occasionally glitch out. This was a freak accident that involved his social security number, his name being the same as somebody else's name, a mix-up at the sheriff's office. It's a really intricate problem. It's nobody's fault. It's just a massive F-up from everybody. And this poor guy's caught in the crossfire. He's like an innocent bystander who got shot in the middle of the street or got run over because an ambulance ran him over or something like that. And there's really nobody at fault here. Could you fault the ambulance person because the ambulance driver because a car was in his way and he went to get out of the way and he hit somebody along the way? Sure, you could. Could you fault the guy who was trying to get out of the way? Maybe. But sometimes in life there are things where, in general, just things mess up and there's no order in the universe and it is what it is. My problem isn't, I feel bad for the guy, of course. Maybe he needed that money to pay his rent. Maybe, he needed that money to pay for his pharmaceuticals, which I raised prices of recently. It doesn't matter. The point is that the problem I have is the guy acted so holier than thou, so almighty. He said, Bank of America is a 2-bit operation. Bank of America doesn't have their bleep together. All right, dude.
Just mad.
You have $3,500 in the bank. What do you expect them to do for you? I could hire my lawyer for 2 hours with that money. $3,500. Do you really expect this bank to bend over backwards to worry about you for $3,500 deposit? And this is a bank with $2 trillion of deposits. Do you expect their system to know when there's this crazy, insane F-up where 50 things go wrong? It's a computer program. It doesn't know.
It'd be the same goddamn thing if he had more money in his account, though.
No way. No way, Jose.
Yeah, if you just wipe it out that easily, just 35.
No way. If he
35 billion.
No, not at all. I've had private client.
Tiers?
Oh yeah, at UBS, if you have more than $5 million, you get a special everything where nothing like that would ever happen. Because you have $5 million and you're a preferred client. But I'm telling you,
poor guy only had $3,500.
Well, they can't give you an account manager when you have $3,500. Just like I can't get a fancy car for $5,000 or $10,000. Just like I can't get a fancy apartment for $200 or a life-saving drug for $3. It's just not part of the world. It's not the way it works. We want it to work that way. We want the CEO of the bank to come down from his office, stop doing the $1 billion deal, and work on this Porschmo's account. But that's not the way the world works. And I hate to say it, and it's a good thing that that's not the way the world works.
Buyer
beware,
be aware.
Dude, you're not saying that. So I understand that, yeah, that's how that is. You're right. That's how banks work.
Yeah, by the way, I hate most of these banks. I think they suck, but it is what it is.
I do too, but at what point does at what threshold of money?
Here's where this guy should go ballistic. When he tries to get his money back and they don't give it to him. That's when you go ballistic.
I
Right.
thought that happened. That was the whole point.
No,
of
No,
this
he went
thing.
ballistic. He went ballistic on the poor lady who's there at the bank, telling him, go online and figure out what's happening, because this poor lady doesn't know that this is a 1 in a billion thing. And so what happened was he goes, "Oh, the second that the woman told me," if read it carefully, what he wrote. "The second the woman told me to go online and read the message, that's when I knew Bank of America didn't have their blank together." All right, first of all, this is a bank with what, 100, 200,000 employees? Because this one poor woman who's literally her other job would have been working at Starbucks, or her other job would have been working at McDonald's. She represents Bank of America, and she is why you think this multi-trillion-dollar institution doesn't have their act together? What, are you kidding me? Like, the arrogance of this schmuck who's like in Paolo Alto, he's probably a computer programmer sipping on a latte, and to impugn 200,000 employees at Bank of America, a fine institution, because of his $3,000 account. Just think about how ridiculous that is. That's what I'm commenting on. The bank making this mistake, yeah, it sucks, but it doesn't happen every day. It's a fluke situation due to a similar name and a weird legal thing. And yeah, should the software be better? Sure, I'm sure it'll be improved. But that's how software gets better. Mistakes happen, and software will get improved. But I think for this guy to lose his blank over really something that's kind of he said most of his money is in another bank. So why complain? Why complain? Why do you need this money if most of your money is in another bank? Why throw a hissy fit? And the reason he's throwing a hissy fit, in my opinion, is because he's an entitled social justice warrior, and that he thinks that this bank exists to serve him and his tiny account. And to me, that is what's ridiculous. Not that he wants his money back. Of course he should get his money back. If there's a $20 charge in my bank more than there should be, I want my money back. Let's see, this might be the guy. I think it's the classic idiot who waits to see me pick up the phone on the stream.
Oh my god.
Because they don't believe that it's me, because they don't know how communications work. I feel horrible for people like this. They're almost as stupid as the guy who complained about his money being tied up. And I love the adjectives the guy uses. He says, "Oh, they lost my money. It disappeared." It's like, bro, that would be called fraud and crime. That's not what happened. There was a glitch. Your money will get restored. Stop crying like a baby.
Yeah, I'm reading
I
it
mean, where
now.
was the glitch when they're not using social security numbers apparently in the algorithm?
It is what it is. The
He got the
programmer
money back.
is a bad programmer.
So then it would be Bank of America's fault if they're using
When we say fault, we have to distinguish between intent and fault. Yes, there was a mistake, and this guy suffering the brunt of the consequences. And again, let's put this into perspective. The guy's in Palo Alto, California. All right? If you've ever been there, $3,500 doesn't go a very long way. He says most of his money is somewhere else. All right, so why are we crying in the first place is my question. And why does he have to take it out on all these poor people at Bank of America? Hello?
Yo, what's going on?
What's
Wanna
up?
Talk to BOA.
Yes.
I think you're absolutely right but at the same time, I disagree that the consumer-facing aspect of BOA isn't important to the company. If it wasn't important, it might not be the majority of their revenue, but if it wasn't important, they wouldn't be servicing regular banking like that.
Well, I actually somewhat agree and I somewhat disagree. I once had a bank account with a very big bank and millions of dollars. And every time I made a large purchase, I got debit card fraud protection calling me, right? And I told these guys, I don't want any debit card fraud protection. I could not care less about fraud prevention. As you can see, I'm a CEO. I've got millions of dollars. Do not ever call me again. I don't want to be out dining somewhere and my card gets rejected because your algorithm thinks that it's not me. And I spend lots of money like this every freaking day. And I don't have the time to pick up the phone and unlock my account because that takes 10 minutes and I got to verify it. But they never, you would think a guy with millions of dollars, they would want to keep my account. They absolutely could not care less. They said it's part of our process. First they said it's to protect the customer. And I'm like, you're not protecting me. You're protecting you. You guys don't want to...
Absolutely. It's their own liability that they're protecting. Yeah. And based on the size of your account, that liability becomes a larger risk for them.
Sure, but I'm sure there's a disclaimer somewhere in there that I'm responsible if there is fraud in my account. That the bank's not necessarily responsible, and I think that they're protected just fine. And I think anyone thinking that the bank exists to help you, to be your friend, or to service you is nonsense. And the depositor base is important, but think about how many big banks there are in the country. There aren't that many. So if you don't like Bank of America, you're going to JP Morgan or Citigroup, but you know what? You're coming right back some point. There's just not that many banks to choose from. And the idea that they really want your deposit, look at how they service their banks. Have you ever talked to a bank teller? They find the cheapest people they can. They're not exactly highly skilled and trained. Have you ever gone to a bank and got immediate service on the line? Have you ever gone to the bank and they have extra tellers just waiting there doing nothing, waiting for you? Have you ever gone to the bank and called them and they immediately pick up? No, none of this exists because you're not paying them enough money for them to give you great service. And what this guy fails to understand is that you only get what you pay for in life. If you have $1 million account like mine, it's paying the bank about 10 grand of interest income a year, right? I'm getting 10 grand, they're getting 20 grand, they net out about $10,000. That's still not enough to get me a dedicated person just for my account. Even though it's $1 million account, even a $10 million account wouldn't be enough for me to get one stupid person to sit there and babysit my account. And that's what I think needs to be understood here, is that your account doesn't matter, my account doesn't matter, your account times 1,000 doesn't matter, my account times 50 doesn't matter. And this idea that they should sit there and be responsive to you, I mean, eventually, yes, they should be responsive to you. But this guy went into the branch and he throws a hissy fit because the woman, who may have finished college, may not have finished college, makes $7 an hour, doesn't understand his extremely complex situation. And he says, oh, Bank of America, what a two-bit operation. Oh, okay, yeah, no, $2 trillion, Warren Buffett's largest shareholder. Oh, for sure, two-bit operation. That makes sense.
No, I'm on the same page with you that his expectations of the service was out of proportion given his contribution back to the business.
Yep.
The point I was trying to make is you stated that the customer isn't important.
It's important. No, it is important. You're right. If I stated that, and I think I did, I'd be mistaken. When a bank stock analyst analyzes bank stocks, the health of the depositor base is very important. And the quality of that depositor base is crucial. And you want to keep your depositors happy, but within reason. This guy didn't go into his account and his money disappeared by accident. He knows that there was something really funky that happened. He knows that there's something really intricate. So along the way, I could even understand if he was really pissed. But after the fact, he what he should have done is sit down and said, gosh, this was a really intricate, messed up situation that was so out of this world, the stars aligned just right, that my bank, they probably couldn't have done anything better anyway. That's what he should have said. Instead, he takes to the internet and complains because apparently all of his other money is just fine and safe. So this is a way to, shame Bank of America in returning his money, which they were going to return anyway, obviously, a little bit faster? I mean, I just hate this kind of this entitlement and this disproportionate entitlement of, yeah, you should expect your bank in the normal course of business to manage your funds appropriately and safely. This wasn't the normal course of business. This was a wildly freak accident. And when freak accidents happen, I don't complain. I just say, you know what? That's life. If I was the biggest customer, I'd be really pissed. If I had $1 million in the bank there, I'd be really pissed. He's one of their smallest customers. I mean, at the end of the day, does he have the right to be pissed is basically what I'm saying.
No, absolutely not. He doesn't have the right to be pissed. I think we're on the same page on that. I really just called him to make one point, and I think
I agree with you. I went a little far when I said that the customers don't matter. Of course they matter.
In the case that the banking system becomes so consolidated that there truly is no other option, then I would agree with you that maybe the consumer-facing aspect of it isn't important whatsoever.
But also consider the fact that the banks, the way they treat their customers, it implies that the customer doesn't matter that much. Because at the end of the day, if you need a mortgage, whether or not Bank of America was nice to you, you're going to go in and try to get the best mortgage you can. Whether or not Bank of America is nice to you or me, Pfizer is still going to go to them when they need M&A advice, which is, a bigger part of their business than retail banking, which is a very small part of their business. You need retail banking, But it's not an absolute must. Look at Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs doesn't have one bank in the world, right? They don't have one retail bank in the whole world, but they still have a $100 billion company with $1 trillion in assets. So, the little kiosks you see where there's a person from Bank of America or Chase or Citigroup sitting there, quote unquote, helping you with your money, they know that, they're not the part of the bank that matters. Your money isn't a part of the bank that matters. Collectively, if all of the accounts less than $5,000 disappeared from Bank of America, they would not skip a freaking beat. So at the end of the day, I think that the customer matters, but only to the extent that they can get away with it. No more and no less. And this is an example where the bank.
What level of the corporation you're talking about? I'm sure at the bank manager level, the manager of that specific location, the deposits do matter to him. His income relies in some ratio to that.
But is he gonna, for one freak accident, is that'll never happen in the next 10 years? He loses a $3,500 account. I just don't think the bank acted inappropriately. They're gonna return their money to him, whether it was gonna take a day or a week or a month. I've had money tied up at banks for freak accidents. Banks fail sometimes. It is what it is. But you can't whine about it if you have $3,500. You're the least important customer of the bank. And, at the end of the day, like I said, the customers matter, but only to the extent that the bank cares for them just enough to keep them there. Because at the end of the day, like I said, the banks may be making 0.5% on you, on your deposit. Maybe. That's the spread. So if you calculate that, that's $15 this guy's account is worth. Think about that. $15. That's 1 hour for one employee. So it's to me, it's just sort of fun to think about. Anyway, thanks for calling. Yeah, I'm glad he got his money back. If it's his money, he deserves to have it. But yeah, I just think his reaction on this prima donna, oh my God, my money, my business, I'm going to take my business, my big account somewhere else. Now, never bank with Bank of America, because if your last name happens to show up in a legal lien, and it's similar to another name, and the social security numbers are similar, your money might get holed up for a few days. Are you kidding me? That's something to whine about? To me, it's stop crying. If you had $1 million in the bank, then you could go to the bank manager and say, I want to speak to the bank manager. They already know who I am. I'm the guy with the $1 million account. And I've done that. Guess what they tell me to do? Go have a seat, sir. And the plumber in front of me is getting serviced. So banks.
Even if you have $1 million in your account, it doesn't really matter. It's the same. You're going to get the same treatment, correct?
Yeah. Do the math. They'll make about $5,000 a year on your $1 million. That's barely enough for what? One employee for 1 month. I really don't matter with $1 million. And the people with $10 million or $100 million, they're never going to get treated poorly. So, and I've got a bank account with that much money in it, but it's sort of you got to look way up before you start assigning yourself self-importance.
Can we agree that someone would flip their last $3,500 though if it really, if they're
Well, that's the other thing. This guy's living in Palo Alto. He's not a plumber. He's not a student. He's in Palo Alto. And he says most of his money is somewhere else, implying that $3,500 isn't much to him. So why is he crying?
still a mortgage payment.
Yeah, but he's got presumably $50,000 somewhere else. He can wait.
You don't know how much money he has.
He said that this was a small amount of money to him, and that most of his money is somewhere else, at another bank.
It's still his money, though.
Yeah, but if he can wait a few days while the craziest glitch that I've ever heard of happens and gets sorted out.
There were a lot of days that went by in that post. I couldn't read it all.
It doesn't matter. It was a crazy glitch. He clearly, has plenty of money somewhere else. He's living in Palo Alto. He's, probably a highly skilled individual making six figures. You have to be practically to live in Palo Alto. And, his money is going to be tied up for a few days.
I think that it seemed like from what I read, he was kind of very nervous that he might not get it back at all.
Yeah, no, and he can sue Bank of America, and that process could take a long time, and it could be very painful. But at the end of the day, when you buy the McDonald's hamburger, you may not get the ketchup. You may not get the bacon you asked for. I can't tell you how many double quarter pounders I got that I paid with for bacon and I didn't get the bacon, or how long it sometimes takes the fries to come in if they're out of fries. It's a pain in the neck, but I don't whine about it because I know I'm buying the cheapest food that exists on the planet. And when you deposit $3,500 in a bank account, the bank is going to make $17 from you this year. You should not expect service that's larger than $17. I have $1 million deposits, and I don't get good service. So when you have $3,500 deposits, you shouldn't expect the world to stop for little old you, who apparently has plenty of money somewhere else, and you take to the internet and you assume Bank of America is a 2-bit operation. Like, how dumb do you have to be to assume the bank sucks because your fluke weird situation wasn't handled the way you think it should have been handled?